Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we're going to be going over and talking about the Orioles and Mariners Game 3 of this three-game series. And the Orioles were able to go out there today and get a win over the Mariners in Game 3. Today was the rubber match game, and the Orioles were able to pull out a win. There's been a lot of times this year where in the Game 3 rubber match, the Orioles have lost and ended up losing the series. But thankfully, the Orioles were able to go out there today, get a 5-3 win over the Mariners, and they won this series 2-1 over the Mariners. And they also won the season series on the Mariners as well. They won the series they had a few months ago against the Mariners, and then they also won this series that happened over the past few days. So that was very good to see. The Mariners won Game 1 of the series. The Orioles won yesterday and today and ended up taking the series. Today was a very hectic game near the end. The Orioles ended up going up 5-0 early in this game. Then there was a big rain delay. We came back from the rain delay, and then the Mariners made it 5-2. And then the Mariners ended up making it close in the ninth inning. It was 5-3. There was runners on base. Cal Raleigh, who didn't start this game, came off the bench. He was someone that obviously I was super scared of, but the Mariners were able to go out there and pull out the win, hold off the Mariners. A very hot Mariners team as well, a team that has won 7 straight games going into yesterday's game, and now they are on a 2-game losing streak thanks to the Orioles. So shout out to the Orioles team that was able to go out there and do what they needed to do. They won the series. It was very nice vibes. A lot of the crowd was able to stay throughout the rain delay. A lot of the crowd was there today. The energy was high. The energy was high in Baltimore, and it was just very cool to see the Orioles go and get a series win over the Mariners. There was a lot of Astros fans in the replies and everything like that thanking the Orioles for beating the Mariners because they're in such a close playoff race right now. So, you're welcome to all the Astros fans for winning this series. But we do actually play the Astros this weekend, and I will be in attendance for the game on Saturday, so that should be a lot of fun. I'll talk to you guys about that when that episode comes this weekend. But we do have a weekend series against the Astros in Houston, so that should be a lot of fun. But let's just go over this Orioles and Mariners game. Going over this Orioles and Mariners game, the Orioles win this game 5-3 over the Mariners. Their record sits at 55-66 on the year. A big win for the Orioles, a big series win as well. They win this series 2-1. The Orioles win this game 5-3. And if you look at the offense in this game, the Orioles offense actually had half the amount of hits that the Mariners have, but the Orioles were able to, really just have some very nice timely scoring in this game, which ended up, being the difference in this game. The Orioles offense only had 4 total hits on the day, but they scored 5 runs off of those 4 hits. The Mariners had 8 hits, and they only scored 3 runs off of it. So the pitching today was great. Tomoyuki Sagano had a great game today. The bullpen came in. They did their thing. But the offense overall today did its thing and did well. We also scored off of an error, so that was part of the reason why, the hits and the runs don't really match up. But Jackson Holliday in this game, he was leading off. He goes over 3 after yesterday's incredible walk-off. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a hit today, but he does get on base with a walk, and he did score a run. Jordan Westburg in this game goes 1 for 2 with 2 runs scored. Gunnar Henderson goes 1 for 4 with an RBI. Ryan Mountcastle goes 1 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI. Kobe Mayo goes 0 for 2, but he does get on base with 2 walks. Jeremiah Jackson goes 1 for 3. D. Johnson goes 0 for 3 with a run scored. Greg Allen comes off the bench. He doesn't get a hit. Dylan Carlson goes 0 for 1 with 2 walks. And then Austin Jackson goes 0 for 3. So overall, not a crazy day for the Orioles offense. They were able to score 5 runs in this game. Some of them were off of some errors and some misplays by the Mariners defense. But overall, the Orioles were able to win this game nonetheless. Gunnar Henderson drove in a run, Ryan Mountcastle drove in a run, and Jeremiah Jackson drove in a run. And one thing that I want to say about Jeremiah Jackson is he has looked extremely, extremely comfortable playing right field. in a positional standpoint, on a defensive standpoint, Jeremiah Jackson looks very, very good at right field. He was able to gun down Josh Naylor on one of the hits that he had today. He was going for second on a double, and he was able to throw him out and get the field assist for Jeremiah Jackson. So that was a really cool play. Again, Jeremiah Jackson looks very comfortable playing right field, and he's somebody that ever since we called him up like a couple of weeks ago, he has looked very, very well for the Orioles. Right now, he's sitting at a 267 average with a 433 slug and a little bit under a 300 on base. So not necessarily like the craziest thing in the world, but he has been a contributor, unlike someone like Greg Allen, who literally hasn't got a base hit for the Orioles since he's been back, since he's been on this team. But Jeremiah Jackson has been playing solid. He's playing a good outfield, and he's also been playing, pretty well at the plate. He's been getting he always just gets like a hit a day or something like that, it seems. So Jeremiah Jackson has been kind of a little bit of a surprise for the Orioles this year. Whenever we called him up, I didn't really think anything of it, but he has done pretty darn well this season. So shout out to Jeremiah Jackson for just overall looking very comfortable out there for the Orioles. And speaking of guys that we called up, as you guys know, today might be the last day before we see Samuel Basallo or Dylan Beavers or both of them. As you guys know, tomorrow is the day where we can call up Basallo and Beavers and not let it affect their contract. So basically we could call them up and then it won't affect their rookie eligibility. So if we call them up this year, technically their rookie deal wouldn't start until next year, so you kind of get it doesn't affect their contract at all, so it's kind of like a situation where it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Again, Mike Elias has come on and he has said that he sees that Basallo and Beavers can be extremely important parts of this team moving forward into the future, and it would make sense that he hasn't called them up yet because of all the catching problems and all the outfielder problems that we've had this year because of injury. You have Beavers, who is your best outfielding prospect, and then you have Basallo, who is your best, catcher prospect and just best overall prospect, and somebody who could also play first. So if the Orioles were super in a rush to get them called up, they would have done it by now, but it is clear that they are going to be an important part of this team moving forward, so they did not want to rush anything, and I really do think that they're waiting for tomorrow to do the call-ups. I think that tomorrow morning sometime we are going to be seeing the official call-up of Basallo and Beavers. I don't know if we're going to get both of them at the same time. I think, I'm going to be honest with you guys, if I had to put money on it, I think that we are going to call up Beavers first tomorrow, and then I think we might wait like another week before we call up Samuel Basallo, or we might do both of them tomorrow. I don't really know. It would be really, really, really cool to see them both called up tomorrow, but I just don't know if the Orioles are going to do two at the same time, especially two at the same time of that level. But I do think that Beavers does get called up tomorrow. The outfield has been a little bit of a problem for the Orioles here recently, and I don't think that the urgency for like a DH or a first baseman is really there right now because Ryan Mountcastle has been playing well since he's gotten called back up from his rehab starts down in AAA. And then Kobe Mayo, obviously they want him to get every single day first baseman reps. So Samuel Basallo would either be playing first or DH, and I just don't think that the urge is really there right now. Obviously, I think that they want to get Basallo reps and stuff like that, but I think it would kind of be a little disrespectful to Ryan Mountcastle to like kind of sit him out or whatever. And obviously, I don't think he's going to play catcher with Adley Rutschman there. But overall, I don't know if we're going to get Basallo up. I know that the urgency is way more about the outfield than it is, first base or DH or catcher. That's why I think Beavers does get called up for sure. The outfield has been a little bit, the outfield recently has been a little trash. I'm going to be real with you guys. You have guys like Greg Allen, Jeremiah Jackson, Dylan Carlson out there who, no disrespect to those players, but those are not players that you're really committed to long term. And Dylan Beavers is somebody that the Orioles look at as a long-term outfielder, potentially center fielder, potentially left fielder, right fielder, whatever it is. He can play all in the outfield. And with the news today that that Tyler O'Neill and Colton Cowser's injuries are going to be taking longer than expected, meaning they're going to be on the IL longer than expected. And to be honest with you, we might not see them for the rest of the year. I don't know. But apparently they are going to be on the IL longer than expected. So it makes even more sense to bring Dylan Beavers up to be that main outfielder you kind of just get reps at, whether it's center, left, or right. You can kind of move him around every single game, just see where he's more comfortable at. But Dylan Beavers getting called up tomorrow, I think, is like almost a guarantee. I see no reason why they wouldn't do it, especially how it doesn't affect their service time. But if Basayo gets called up tomorrow, that would be incredible as well. I don't really know where they'd play him. I don't think that they would play him at catcher, but I don't also think that they would play him at first. I think if we do call him up, it would be more of like a DH first baseman role. But with Mountie and Mayo, I just don't know if the Orioles want to kind of push that right now. But if they do, that would still be really cool. If they decide to bench Ryan Mountcastle, if they decide to maybe, not give Kobe Mayo as many reps, we'll see what happens with that. And for me, in my opinion, I would really like the Orioles to go out there and give Mayo and Basayo reps. Whether it's Mayo at DH and Basayo at first or vice versa. But I just think it's a little disrespectful to Ryan Mountcastle because he has been playing well since he's come back, and Ryan Mountcastle is really like a full-time first baseman in DH, much similar to Kobe Mayo. But we'll see what happens with that. We'll see maybe if they give Adley a couple days off or maybe move something around. But between like Adley, Rutschman, if Basayo does get called up, between Basayo, Adley, Ryan Mountcastle, and Kobe Mayo, they're going to have to sit one of those guys. I just don't know who they're gonna do it to, and I really do think that Mayo and Basayo, if Basayo does get called up, I really do think that Mayo and Basayo should play together, because again, I don't think Ryan Mountcastle is a long-term part of this team, and I think that Mike Elias knows that. So we'll see what happens with that. We'll see if Basayo does get called up. Obviously, Basayo is the more hyped-up prospect, because he is the Orioles' number 1 overall prospect, and he's also the number 9 overall prospect in all of baseball. So calling him up would be very, very, very cool and very hype, obviously. I would just like to see where they play him, because obviously they would want to get him like regular at-bats, much like they're doing with Kobe Mayo right now. So I just want to see where they would play him is all. I do think that we should call him up, but at the same time, if I had to put money on it, I don't know if we're going to do it just yet. I think they might wait a little bit after Beavers, but I still do think that we see Basayo and Beavers both called up by, within the next, honestly, like 2 weeks. And I think we get Beavers up tomorrow. But we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, if this news comes out, I'm going to come on here and make an episode immediately because, again, Beavers and Basayo are a big deal getting called up by the Orioles. So I'll make an episode talking about that once that news happens. But I do want to go over the pitching in this game and talk about Tomoyuki Sugano, who went out there and had a great game today. He also got his 10th win of the season. And for an Orioles team that is 11 games below 500, for a player to go out there with 10 wins and only 5 losses, that is very, very impressive by Tomoyuki Sugano. He gets through 5.1 innings, gives up 3 hits, 1 walk, and only 1 run across those 5 innings. Also puts up 2 strikeouts, an 81 pitch count across those 5 innings, and his ERA looks a lot better than it did a few weeks ago. His ERA is sitting at a low 4, sitting at a 4.13. And Tomoyuki Sugano has really strung together like 4 good starts in a row. So shout out to Tomoyuki Sugano. Obviously, he started off the year. He was amazing. He was like the Orioles' best pitcher at the start of the year. And then he kind of had some really rough starts. But he really is starting to turn it back around as we near the end of the season. So shout out to Tomoyuki for a great start today. Garcia came into the game. He gave up a couple hits and a run. Keegan Aiken and Cade Stroud both go perfect, don't give up a run, and then Dentrich ends, gives up a run in the 9th inning. It was a little bit scary. There was a couple runners on with like 1 out with Cal Raleigh up, and it was a little scary because, Cal Raleigh is the home run leader in baseball, so it was pretty scary to see all that happening, but the Orioles were able to get around it and get the win. And then heading into the series this weekend, actually, I do want to talk about this. This weekend, we do have a series against the Houston Astros. It is a 3-game series. We actually play the Astros like 7 times within the next 10 days. We have a 3-game series against the Astros this weekend, and then we play them next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So back-to-back weekend series against the Astros. But tomorrow, it is going to be Brandon Young versus Framber Valdez. And again, Brandon Young is a pitcher who has been pretty bad for the Orioles this season. He hasn't necessarily gone a ton of innings. He's 0-6 on the season with a 6.7 ERA. Framber Valdez is 11-5 with a below a 3 ERA. So Framber's been one of the better pitchers in baseball this year. But Framber Valdez has always consistently been one of the better pitchers in baseball every year for the Astros. We know how good that he's been. So again, Brandon Young versus Framber. Obviously, the Astros have a huge advantage in this game because of the pitching matchup, and also the Astros are just a great team as well. So hopefully Brandon Young can go out there tomorrow and just hold his own for as long as he possibly can. Hopefully he can get through at least 5 innings. You know, I'm thinking 5 innings, maybe 1 or 2 runs, like 2 runs, like maximum. Like I don't really know, to be honest with you. Brandon Young, just hopefully he can go out there and just kind of hold his own. Don't let the game get away from you too early. Don't let the Astros go out there and score 5 runs in the first 2 innings or first two or 3 innings. Hopefully Brandon Young can just kind of chill out, hold his own, and then by the time that he leaves the game, hopefully the game is still actually winnable. And to be honest with you, hopefully Brandon Young just gives the offense a chance to win this game because the offense is starting to play a little bit better. This offense, as we know, is missing Tyler O'Neill and Colton Cowser, and obviously guys like Ramon Laureano, Cedric Mullins, and Ryan O'Hearn, but it's getting the younger guys at bats, which is going to be good and better long term. But hopefully Brandon Young can just hold his own and just not let this game get away from him too early. And then hopefully the Orioles can get a win tomorrow. And then on Saturday, it is going to be Cade Povich versus Jason Alexander. And then on Sunday, it is going to be Dean Kramer versus Christian Javier. So, Games 2 and 3 of the series are a little bit closer in pitching matchups, but Game 1, the Orioles definitely have the pitching disadvantage in this game, so we'll see what happens in this weekend series against the Astros. Obviously, I'll have an episode up every single day covering every single Orioles game like we've done all year now, all 120 plus games of the season so far. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to all these episodes. I appreciate it so much, and we're just getting started with this show because we still got Ravens season, we still got the rest of this Orioles season, and hopefully we get that news soon about either Basayo, Beavers, or both of them getting called up. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. If you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube and follow up on Spotify. Make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. And then also make sure to click the link in the bio of whatever platform you're listening on, either Spotify or YouTube, and make sure to follow the Instagram and the Twitter. I post live updates on anything going on Twitter, any sort of news, any sort of stuff going on, live tweeting throughout the games, live tweeting any sort of breaking news and stuff like that. I always post my first initial reactions on Twitter, so make sure to give that a follow. And then on Instagram, I post an update on every single time an episode is released. So make sure to give both of those a follow. Make sure to also follow or subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify. I appreciate you guys so much for all the support. Again, I've had the time of my life doing the show, and I really just appreciate all the support and love that you guys have showed me. I'll have an episode up sometime tomorrow talking about Orioles-Astros Game 1, or sometime tomorrow morning, or even tonight, later tonight. Once we get news on Basayo and Beavers, I am going to make an episode, an emergency episode, talking about that, just kind of really celebrating the fact that they're called up and talking about their potential impacts that they could make on the Orioles. So once we get that news, I'll make an episode about it. But I'll see you guys in the next one. You have a great sales day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.